Hey, hello leaders, and welcome back to Run to Your Leadership Challenges, episode 308. And welcome to the video version of my daily leadership podcast. Now, the podcast is 2 minutes. The video version, you get a little extra because I do not edit or cut the video version. So you see my bloopers, you see my double takes, you see all my mistakes, and kind of this is the behind the scenes view, I guess. But you also get a little bit of extra. So today we're continuing the week with the leadership failure theme, and today we're going to talk about delegating. Now, you know, delegating can be an extreme failure because some leaders just do not delegate at all, which you're not going to grow your people into future leaders if you don't delegate some responsibility to them. Another type of failure might be where you just delegate too much. I've seen many leaders that just delegate way too much information, and then they just sit back and just have the laissez-faire type of leadership where they just don't do anything. That's a failure too. So the key is trying to get that balance, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, I'm going to hit record and we're going to be on our way. Hello leaders, and welcome to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So this week we're discussing the challenge of leadership failure and the impact that it can have. Today I want to talk about delegating, or more specifically, maybe not delegating, as a type of leadership failure. Now, I'm not sure where you fit in when I talk about delegating, but what would classify as delegating as a leadership failure to you? I just messed that up. All right, let me go back. So now I'm not sure where you fit when we talk about delegating, but what I would classify as delegating as a leadership failure, it would either be failure to delegate altogether or delegating too much. Now, I realize they are opposite ends of the spectrum here, and I'm going to address them both. First of all, if you are failing to delegate altogether, what is going on? I mean, delegation is a key part of leadership, and failing to delegate tells me that you either don't trust any of your team members or you are so power hungry that you want to do everything by yourself. So what is it? Now, if you have a trust issue, you need to get past it by asking yourself what you can do to start building trust today. Is it to train your team members better? Is it to have a sit-down conversation with them that you've been avoiding? Is it something that happened in the past that you just can't get by and it's just lingering in your mind? Well, man, you need to get over it. You're a leader, for crying out loud, so move on. What can you do to build trust in your team today? You're the leader. You got to lead by example. Trust is a key issue. Well, whatever it is, if it's trust or if it's something else, you'll never be a great leader if you can't trust your team members enough to delegate some tasks to them. Delegation is a crucial part to growing your team members to be leaders of tomorrow. It is my hope that your organization runs just as well when you're not there as it is when you're there. To me, that is one of the true tests of how a great leader is measured. Finally, if you're delegating too much, you may just be in a position that really doesn't need you. And this too is a form of leadership failure because you're just not being truthful to your employer. If you're in a job where you're not needed, approach your employer and say, hey, you need to promote me or, do something. Go get another job. I mean, you're wasting your company's time. So if you're not needed, then ask for a different job within your company, ask for more work, ask for greater responsibility, or whatever you need to do. No leader should be to the point where they have zero responsibility at work. You can delegate some of your work. And sometimes, some cases, you can delegate the majority of your work. But some tasks are simply for you and you alone. You need to figure out what that is. Now, I'd say the bottom line with delegation is to find the right mix or balance of how much you can delegate and how much you need to retain yourself. This may even be rotating some of the responsibilities around your team, so everybody gets a different type of delegation on a monthly basis maybe. That's a good way to grow your people. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, I'd greatly appreciate a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen on. Also, if you want a little extra value each day, please check out my YouTube channel, Current Leadership Coaching, and watch the video version of this show. As always, thanks for listening, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges. Okay, so that is the wrap on the podcast, and this is the second version. So now it's 11:15 at night, as I said in episode 306 that I was doing these at night. And a lot of times I come out here after the littles are in bed, and it's some good quiet time, so I don't really mind it. I watch a little bit of TV, but my TV watching days are kind of non-existent. Every once in a while we have a family movie night or something. But so some extra value on delegating. This is something that a lot of leaders struggle with. I teach leadership classes with Webster University, and one of the most normal or most common problems that the leaders I teach always say that they have a problem with delegating. And it can be tough, especially if you're a younger leader or a veteran leader for that matter. It can be tough to delegate because it's kind of like letting go of things and allowing, building that trust and allowing other people to do a job that might be within your control. The thing is about a delegating is ultimately you are still responsible for the success or failure of that task that you're delegating. So you want to delegate carefully and make sure your people are well trained prior to delegating. Look at them, make sure you review their records, make sure you know that they've been trained, and then delegate to them and then let them go. Now there's a difference between delegating and empowerment. Delegating is you're giving them a specific task and you're expecting them to do it a certain way, all right? And maybe even allow them to do it their own way. But empowerment is basically where you give them an entire job, or you say, hey, this needs to be done, just go do it. And you trust them enough to go do it. They don't have to ask you about it. Where delegating is more of you're giving them a specific task, and then after that task is done, they come back, or if they have questions, they can ask you. So realistically, delegating, you're not giving them a whole lot of authority per se, whereas you are in empowering them, but it's still building that trust and it's still growing them as a leader. So take a look at your tasks that you're delegating to your people. And if you're not delegating enough, well, maybe it's time to start small with small tasks where they can build their trust, or you can start to trust them more and more, and then amp it up a little bit each week. So that's my challenge for today. I hope you enjoyed this show, and please join us tomorrow for the weekend edition, and we will be talking about the leadership failure of lack of details. And this will be something that you can use both at home and on the job, because lack of details can be a struggle for some leaders. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Friday and run to your challenges.